I went and dug into 7 generator brands, the ones people are buying right now to keep the lights on when the grid goes down. And out of 7, only 3 of them I'd actually trust to sit in my own garage. The rest I'll tell you exactly why I'd pass, and I'll show you why the marketing on the box doesn't always match what happens after year 2. If straight talk without the sales pitch is what you came for, go ahead and hit subscribe now. I'll ask again at the end, but let's get it out of the way early. Here's the thing about generators that the salesman at the store isn't going to walk you through. Every single one of these machines looks the same on the shelf. Shiny, loud engine numbers on the box. A picture of a house with the lights on during a storm. But there's one thing separating a generator that runs for 15 years from one that dies in 3, and it's not the brand name. It's the runtime rating on the engine and how the company handles the parts that wear out first, the carburetor, the seals, and how it deals with heat. Most small engines on these generators are rated for somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 hours before they need real work. That sounds like a lot until you realize a bad storm season alone can put 50, 60 hours on a machine. Do the math over 10 years and you start to see which brands are built to actually last and which ones are built to get you through the warranty period and not much further. That's the whole game today. Not who's loudest on the shelf, who's actually going to be running when you need it in year 8. One topic: generators, and generators only. Let's get into it. Predator generators in hot climates. Predator generators, sold through Harbor Freight, are popular because they're cheap, $200–300 less than the name brands for a comparable size. And for a lot of folks in mild climates, they'll do fine. But there's a documented problem if you live somewhere hot. Electricians and repair shops in places like Texas have flagged real overheating issues with Predator units running above 95 degrees outside. If you live somewhere the summer sits in the high 90s or hundreds, and that's exactly when you'd need backup power the most during a grid failure. That's the worst possible time for your generator to start struggling. They also come with a 90-day warranty out of the box. 90 days. You want an extended warranty on a Predator, you're paying extra for it, which tells you something about how confident the company is in its own machine past that window. Ultra-budget no-name imports. Same story as I've told you before with tools and boots. There's a whole category of generators online with names you've never heard of and won't hear again. No real parts network, no real service centers, no track record. When something goes wrong at hour 200, you're not calling anybody, you're just out a generator. If you can't find the company's actual support number, or find real owners posting about their machine years later, that's your answer right there. Generac, with a caveat you need to hear. Now this one's going to surprise some of you, because Generac's the biggest name in the business, and they've actually been rated the most trusted whole home generator brand for 4 years running by outside consumer surveys. So why am I flagging them? Because most trusted and most reliable are 2 different things. Dig into the owner forums and you'll find a real pattern. A lot of the complaints against Generac aren't the machine failing on its own, they're tied to bad installations and poor maintenance by third-party installers who don't know what they're doing. One technician who's personally serviced over 1,000 Generac units said flat out that most of what he sees isn't the generator's fault, it's the install. So here's my honest verdict. Generac's not garbage, but if you buy one, you better make sure whoever installs it actually knows what they're doing, because the machine's only as good as the hands that put it in. That's a risk I'd rather not take when there are brands that don't carry that same asterisk.
We just replaced everything inside this transfer switch. This was the wire that was in there. It was an installation issue, and I can tell because if a wire is terminated properly, you will have pretty big divots in this kind of stranded here. This is virtually almost round, which tells me that the lugs were not tightened up. The other thing I noticed was I made the corrections, but none of these had these aluminum conductors had any no locks on them. You can't do that. You got to have anti-oxidation on something like that. Anything that's aluminum, otherwise it's going to turn green and it's going to heat up and all that good stuff, and then you end up in a situation where, as you can see, you got to replace the transfer switch.
Any generator with no local parts availability. Last one to avoid isn't a specific name, it's a rule. Before you buy any generator, check if you can actually get a carburetor kit, an air filter, a spark plug for it at a regular hardware store or ordered online within a few days. Some of these off-brand imports use proprietary parts you can only get from the manufacturer directly, and if that manufacturer is slow, or overseas, or out of business in 3 years, your generator's a paperweight the first time something small breaks. A generator's only useful if you can actually keep it running. If you've had a generator brand fail on you, or one that surprised you by holding up, drop it in the comments. I read every one of them. Now let's get to the 3 I'd actually trust. Honda. Honda's the name that comes up again and again in owner forums as the most reliable generator on the market, full stop. Their inverter models, especially the EU700IS, have a reputation for running clean, quiet power for years with minimal maintenance beyond basic oil changes. The trade-off is price. You're paying a real premium over the budget brands, sometimes double. But owners who've had theirs for a decade plus report almost no issues, and Honda's parts and service network is about as solid as it gets in this industry. If money's not the tightest constraint and you want the machine you basically never have to think about. Champion sits in a smart middle ground. You get dual fuel and tri-fuel options, meaning the generator can run on gasoline or propane, which matters if gas is hard to get during a real emergency and propane's sitting in your tank already. Champion backs their units with a 3-year warranty, compared to a lot of budget competitors sitting at 90 days, and independent comparisons show their engines rated for 2,000 to 3,500 hours of life, which with basic maintenance translates to 15 to 25 years of typical backup use. For most homeowners who want real value without cutting corners on support, Champion's the one I'd point you to. Westinghouse comes up consistently in real-world comparisons as a leading choice for home backup power, especially in their inverter line. They run quieter than a lot of the competition, which matters more than people think. A loud generator during a long outage becomes a real problem with neighbors and your own sanity. They've had some reported hiccups with warranty service response times, so if you go this route, register your unit right away and know the process before you need it. But on pure machine reliability and value for the money, they've earned their spot on this list. Let me being straight with you folks. None of these three are the cheapest option in the store, and that's the whole point. Cheap up front on a generator means you're gambling on the one day you actually need it working. Also, no generator, even a good one, replaces basic maintenance. Run it every couple months even when you don't need it. Keep fuel fresh. Change the oil on schedule. A great generator with no maintenance will still let you down. That part's on you, not the brand. Quick rundown. Watch out for Predator in hot climates. Stay away from no-name imports with no parts network. Go into Generac with your eyes open about installation quality, and always check parts availability before you buy anything. If you want a generator that'll actually be there when the power's out, look at Honda if budget allows, Champion for the best all-around value, or Westinghouse if you want quiet, reliable backup without the Honda price tag. That's it for today. If this kept you from making an expensive mistake, hit that subscribe button, tap like, and tell me down in the comments where you're watching from and what generator you're running right now. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.